Welcome back to ch205. In this video, I'll be talking about using bubble sort to sort a list of numbers. So in bubble sort, the way we sort a list is we compare every two numbers from the beginning of the list toward the end and order them in, let's say, ascending or descending order. If the pair is ordered already, so we don't change the order. If it doesn't, if it's not in the order fashion, then we have to swap the two elements. Like in this case, imagine I have 15 or 20 numbers here. I start from the top to the bottom, and I compare these two. If the first one is smaller than the second, then I keep it. And if the first one is bigger than the second one, then I swap the two. Then I go and compare the second and the third. If the second one is bigger than the third one, then I keep. If the second one is less than the third one, well, depending on if you want to do descending or ascending. Let's say we want to do in ascending order, then if the second one is smaller than the third one, we keep it. If the second one is bigger than the third one, we have to swap. And we go to the next and do the same thing all the way to the end. And then at the end, we look back and ask how many times we swap the numbers. If the number of swapping is 0, that's the end of the logic. We have to stop. So that's basically the list we come up with. It should be in ascending order. If at the end we have at least one swapping event, then we have to go back and check every pair, every consecutive numbers, or every consecutive number with the one before or the one after, and make sure that they don't need any swap. So that means any swapping causes this loop to iterate from the beginning to the end. So we have to do this until there's no swapping from the beginning to the end. And that's what is explained in the textbook in exercise 2.6. So this is the pseudocode. We're going to go over a while loop. Initially we say swap is true, and as long as the condition is true, then the while loop continues. Okay, so since this is true initially, we get to the loop, we make it false. Okay, so that means if that was the only statement, then the next while will stop. But now we have a loop, we go over every number, we check every number with the one after, and if the first one is bigger than the second one, we swap, and then we change the flag swap to true, and that makes the while loop to return. If there's no swapping, then swap stays as false, and then the while loop breaks. Okay, so here's the pseudocode, and we're going to now look at the VBA program. So we're going to initially start with the declaration. As before, we have the number we're going to read, the list of numbers, total number of numbers. We have a variable which is either true or false. That is called Boolean. So we're going to say swap is Boolean. That means it's either true or false. We have another variable called swapper, and that is double, and then acro as usual integer. So most of the code is pretty much like what we saw in last video, how to get like the average, standard deviation, stuff like that. But now this time we store the numbers in a list, and we order the numbers in ascending or descending order. So we go to active sheet, we set the row number equal to 2. We're going to read the numbers from the top, which is the second row. We're going to read the total number of numbers. Let's say I have 20 numbers here, and the way we generate it as before, we call rand between 1 and 100 with equal sign here. It creates a random number. We're going to drag it down up to 20 more rows, and then we're going to generate 20 random numbers. We're going to copy them. So here's copy. And then I'm going to go here on the third row and then paste the special, and then values only. These are 20 numbers, so I put 20 in the second row. Okay, so this tells VBA that there are 20 numbers below this. Okay, Now go back to the code. So we get the total number of numbers from this row, and then we have a loop that go over every number and then reads it from the active sheet and then stores it in this array. Okay? After we store it, then we exactly code the pseudocode that is given in the text. I'm going to basically code this exactly in VBA, and that's what it is here. If the number is bigger than 0, swap is true. Oops. And as long as swap is true, we get to the while loop, then we set swap as false. We go over every number, we check every number with the one after. And then if the first one is bigger than the second one, we're going to swap. Let's say we want to do the ascending order, we're going to swap, right? And to swap is, we first save the initial number, the first number, we're going to save it into swapper. Then we assign the second number to the first, and then swapper to the second. So we're going to assign swapper to the second, and then we change the swap flag to true, such that next time, again, we iterate. Now, in any case, if we do not swap anything, then the swap stays false as before, and then while loop breaks. If the while loop breaks, then we're going to print out 2 rows below, or maybe 1 row below that the sorted list is this, and we're going to print out all the numbers from the top to the bottom. We go over the list again, and we print them in the spreadsheet by increasing the act row every time we print the number. Okay, so and then at the end of the list, we're going to increase the number of rows, and then we put yeah, so that is it. Now, if the total number of numbers is not bigger than 0, we're going to write that there is no number to get an average right below the title of the spreadsheet. Okay, so if this is clear, I'm going to go and run the code. So I'm going to go up and run it. And you immediately see that right below this, we're going to have the sorted list. And this is actually sorted. You see that it's ascending order 8, 11, 17, 24, all the way to the last one, which is 100. Okay, so I hope this is useful. So in this video, just to recap, we talked about how to sort a list of numbers, which is called bubble sort. We compare every number with the one after it. And then if the order is right, we keep it. If the order is not right, we just swap them. And then we stop the algorithm as long as there is no swapping from the beginning of the list to the end of the list. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next video now on matrix operation in chapter 3.